Hey hackers, Blue Cosmo from CCS here. Welcome back to the channel. Today is the day when we are teaching the Linux Fundamentals course, Linux Fundamentals. Basically, if you don't know what Linux is, I guess you're about to find out, right? Because you're taking this course to learn what Linux is and to learn how to use it, how to install it, and get ready. Because I'm sure you guys are probably new to the security field, want to learn how to use the operating system. So let's go ahead and do so. You guys see on my screen, Linux Fundamentals, created by me, of course, from the beautiful company of Cosmodium CS or Cosmodium Cybersecurity. Definitely check out our website. Definitely check out some of the other cool courses we have. We have courses on Hack5 gear like the Wi-Fi Pineapple, Bash Bunny, USB Rubber Ducky, cybersecurity, ethical hacking, computer science, all that other stuff. And all of them so far are free. So yeah, definitely check it out. Link will be in the description as always. But let's jump into the course. Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about Linux. Yes, the Linux operating system. Basically everything from what Linux is, how to operate it. This course will kind of set you in a place to where you can actually use the operating system and kind of grow and practice with it. It should be pretty cool. So a little bit on who I am before we jump into all of this. My name is Chris Taylor, also known as Blue Cosmo, as you probably heard me refer to myself at the beginning of the video. Yeah, so I am the Chief Executive Officer at Cosmodium Cybersecurity. I am a security educator, malware developer, and most notably YouTuber, right? I do have the YouTube channel, which is tied to the company of Cosmodium CS. And you can definitely check out some of my socials that I have linked down here if you want to learn more about who I am. But let's go ahead and talk about the foundations or requirements for this course, right? A basic understanding of how networking works is ideal, but it is not necessary. You do not need to know it because we will teach it to you guys in our ethical hacking course and future networking course and other stuff. But I'll kind of explain everything, but if you do have a basic idea of how networking works in different services, you will be better off. But that's okay. You also do need a decent computer. Decent means 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte hard drive or SSD card. Only because we are going to be making a Linux virtual machine to kind of play around in, kind of examine, and I want to make sure you guys can run it okay. This is kind of just the two ideals. Maybe a good graphics card would be good as well. The operating system doesn't matter too much. If you're already on Linux, so you don't really have to worry about this. But if you guys are on Windows or Mac and we have to install a virtual machine, then this kind of, or having these statistics would probably be ideal. But let's go ahead and jump into the course, right? Introductory Concepts. What are we learning today? So Linux, it is an open source operating system, right? It does have different versions, also referred to as distributions. There are like tons of different versions. You also hear them referred to as like flavors or distros, which is short for distributions. But yeah, the distros of Linux or distributions of Linux, there are multiple and a lot of them. But basically Linux is just an open source operating system at its root. You'll get that joke later. But yeah, it originated in 1991. It was created by Linus Torvalds. And Tux is the mascot of the Linux operating system. So you can see Linus over here looking mighty good, mighty fine. He created the first Linux operating system, kind of created Linux as a whole. Super cool dude. And then we got Tux, the penguin. You've probably seen this penguin before. It is the mascot of Linux. So, I mean, if you ever seen like the Windows sign, the Apple from Mac, and then the penguin, that penguin is referring to Linux because that is Tux. Cool. So real world Linux, where do we see Linux in the real world? Well, we see it in servers. Servers are basically just computers that you can remotely connect to, right? Things like websites are, being hosted on a web server are most likely using Linux. Linux is used so much in the real world. So it's used to host like web servers, SQL servers, SSH servers, a bunch of other types of servers, FTP servers, all those types of acronyms you will learn about later, I think. But yeah, so that is where servers kind of come in. Linux it's kind of like an operating system that a lot of the servers run off of. My server at home actually runs off of Linux as well. Super cool. Computer science. Computer science is, Linux is used in computer science, especially if you are a programmer, hacker, developer. Using a Linux operating system is kind of ideal. It really puts you in an advantage when working on programming and such. The only difference is if you work in as a Windows developer, like making Windows applications, or as a Mac or iOS developer, then you probably want to work on those respective operating systems. However, for the most part, if you're creating just general cross-platform programs, Linux can be a very ideal platform to use. I actually use Linux myself. Data handling, data science, Linux is used plentiful in that realm as well. Even data processing, and of course cybersecurity. We are a cybersecurity company, cybersecurity education company rather, and cybersecurity is used a ton, and you will actually learn about all that stuff in our ethical hacking course. Super cool. But when it comes to the distributions or distros of Linux, there are two main ones. We have Debian and we have Arch. Debian and Arch. These are the two essential. Sorry, my watch is being weird. These are the two main and central Linux distributions, Debian and Arch. Debian is kind of more of a user-friendly one. It's been around for a while, and a lot of distributions are based off of it. Arch is a not so user-friendly operating system. There are plenty of jokes around the people who use Arch, but it is a fantastic operating system. Definitely suggest that if you are more experienced in the world of Linux, definitely check it out. But if you're just using a good understanding Linux operating system, Debian is kind of the go-to. Now, a lot of operating systems are based off of Debian and Arch, right? So one of the distributions that is based off of Debian is Ubuntu. You may have heard of Ubuntu before. Ubuntu is based off of Debian. So this is kind of like this weird kind of tree thing that Linux does, where it kind of bases itself off of previous and other distributions. So we have Debian, and Ubuntu was based off of Debian, and then we have Linux Mint, which was based off of Ubuntu, which was based off of Debian. Yeah, it can get kind of weird the further down you go. But there's a lot of distributions based off Debian, and then there's a lot of distributions that are based off of Ubuntu, which is based off of Debian. Pretty weird. But we also have other distributions like Kali Linux. Kali Linux, you probably heard about it before, but if you haven't, this is the go-to operating system for hackers. This is kind of like the most famous, infamous hacking operating system, which is also based off of Debian. You can even see here, Parrot Security. Parrot OS, Parrot Security is my personal operating system of choice. It is the operating system I use. It is also designed for security hackers and such. So these both have the same tools, same terminal, same whatever. They're both based on Debian. So if you want to run something on one of them, you can, because they are both based on Debian. So yeah, definitely check it. We're definitely going to look at these later on in the course. But yeah, so this is my actual operating system that I use, Parrot Security, if you guys were curious. Now, Arch also has ones based off of it. Arch has Black Arch. Black Arch is also a cybersecurity focused operating system, but this time it's based off of Arch instead of Debian. You can easily see the relation between the two, hopefully. But yeah, this is another operating system. These three right here are focused for cybersecurity, and these are some other general operating systems focused off of their peers. You can even see here that Arch is based, or we have Manjaro here, which is also based off of Arch Linux. This is a little bit more user-friendly. Arch and can be a little bit more, not so user-friendly. But these tend to be a little bit more user-friendly, and especially these two provide some good tools on cybersecurity-related items. So let's talk about Security Linux, right? So Security Linux, there are special distributions which are dedicated to, security professionals. So when we come to those distributions, we have Kali Linux, which I showed earlier, which was that little dragon, and we have Parrot OS. If we look at Kali Linux is kind of like this industry standard. There you go. Industry standard is the industry standard. So if you are working in the cybersecurity field, you will more likely than not be using this operating system for work. For work. Let me say that one more time. It is for work. You do not use Kali as a home system. You're not doing your homework on it. You're not doing your, editing videos on it. You use it for the sole purpose of cybersecurity and ethical hacking, and cybersecurity and ethical hacking only. That's the purpose of it. It is an industry standard operating system. You should not be using it for anything else. It has even all the tools and stuff. Super cool. So Kali is kind of like the industry standard, so I definitely suggest checking it out if you are interested in that area. The other operating system is Parrot OS. Parrot is the one I use again, and it is a really cool, really nice operating system to use. They have different versions. The security edition is the one that's kind of similar to Kali. Again, they're both Debian based, so they have all this, and the Parrot actually does have more tools than Kali, but you can easily install all the tools you want on either operating system because they're both Debian based. And that's, I guess, kind of it when it comes to those two. Basically, the only key difference between them is Kali is the industry standard. So if you are working in the penetration testing field, you more than likely will be using Kali. Or if you want something a little bit more at-home friendly, some privacy-focused stuff, more tools, then go for Parrot OS. Now, it does not matter what operating system you use. You can even use Ubuntu for this course. You can use Linux Mint for this course. You can use Kali for this course. You can use Parrot OS for this course. It does not matter as long as it's Debian based, because that's the type of basing that we are focusing this course on. So that's pretty much it. That's a lie. But just keep that in mind. You can use any Debian based Linux for this course. However, we're just going to be using, I believe, Parrot in this course, or Kali, whatever one you decide, really. Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. All that matters is the terminal. Cool. So let's continue on going. We'll talk about VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is a, we'll talk about it in a second, but basically, we could install, Linux on a dedicated bare bones metal computer. It actually is preferred if you're working in the industry. Definitely install it on like your own laptop. That way you can bring it around and use it as a work computer. But if you aren't working in the industry and you're more of a hobbyist or want to learn more about the education or want to learn more about security and some other reasons, we can run Linux in a virtualized environment as something called a virtual machine using a program called VirtualBox. The website, there you go. All right, cool. So this is VirtualBox. You can go ahead and download it, and basically this will allow us to start, having a virtual emulation of a operating system. So click that big download button to download, and you can actually go ahead and we'll talk about how to, install Linux on a virtual machine. Cool. So written instructions. Download your preferred ISO file from either website. So you can use Parrot. Download their ISO, download right there, or you can use Kali, download their ISO, or you can use Ubuntu, or you can use Linux Mint. It does not matter. They all are Debian based. Just do not use Arch or Arch based stuff, because you will get lost and you'll be confused. But any Debian based you can prefer. If you want the easy option, just choose Kali or Parrot. Kali is the industry standard, so if you want to get more familiar about what you will be using in your career, choose Kali. If you want something a little bit more at home friendly, if you're more of a hobbyist and kind of trying to learn, then I would suggest Parrot. Either way, it does not matter, but you would just download your preferred option. So yeah, you see they have their own thing for virtual machines here, VirtualBox for Kali, so you can actually download a VirtualBox focused one on Kali. And on Parrot, you can see download right there. Awesome. So choose your preferred one. Kali makes it easy because they have one specific for VirtualBox, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to close all this. Once you have them, you can go on your VirtualBox. So I'll go on VirtualBox here, and you can basically make a new machine. You can call this machine whatever you want. I'll just call it Parrot because I know I have a Parrot ISO on here already. And then you choose the location of where you want to save it. I'll have it in my virtual machines folder, but you can save it wherever you want. And then you can choose whatever type of Linux it is, and then what type of operating system it is. Now, technically you can choose Debian if you want, but you can also specify other ones if you're using Ubuntu, or if you're using any other ones that they might mention here. But because we don't really have anything mentioned here, I'll just do other Linux, just keep it simple. And we will do next. Cool. So you want to choose your amount of RAM. 4 gigs of RAM is good. So 4790 is good. If you want to up the ante, you definitely can. But 4 to 8 gigs of RAM is about good. So basically, if this starts with 4, it's 4 gigabytes. If it starts with 8, it's 8 gigabytes. Because it's measured in megabytes. Sorry. But yeah, so you can also create a virtual hard disk. Awesome. And then virtual hard disk, that sounds good. Dynamically sized, which is good. And then the amount of size on the actual hard disk. So if you want, about 60 gigabytes is about the ideal space or size of the virtual machine you want to create. And then you can create it and then go ahead and start it. So now you just need to choose the ISO file. You can go through here, add the ISO file. I think I have Parrot security right there. Perfect. So we'll choose that one and we'll start. Cool. And now you can start installing. So you can go ahead and hit that try/install area. And we can start letting it boot up and such. Awesome. There you go. So now you can see that we have like the basic form factor of Parrot. So you can go ahead and install Parrot. And then go through this. So yes, American English sounds good. American, that looks good. Those look good. And then you can basically start choosing in between. Right, this will erase the whole disk. This obviously we're choosing the 60 gigabyte disk that we made earlier. And then we're going to erase the entire disk and write it with Parrot. This is good as long as you're using the VirtualBox hard disk and not your hard drive. You can even encrypt the system if you want to. And then we can go ahead and hit next. So I'll just do blue Cosmo. Your username looks good. Name of this computer, that looks fine. You can call these whatever you want, honestly. Passwords, just mix some passwords. I'll just do subscribe, and yeah, that looks good. Next, and confirm. Look over this, make sure it looks good to you guys, and then we can install now, and let it install. Alright, so once it does that, it will ask you to hit enter, so you can just hit enter. It should automatically disconnect your Parrot ISO file, so you should be fine. Once it does that, and we can go ahead into here. Awesome. So it's going to ask us for our password. We can type in our password. I just chose subscribe as mine, but it should be pretty straightforward on how to do. So now we have our Parrot OS operating system in our virtual machine. It's pretty cool. Obviously it's pretty small, right? This is kind of a weird small window. So what we need to do is go ahead to our machine settings, and we can go ahead and shut it down. So ACPI shutdown, we'll just hit shutdown, and let it shut down. What we're going to do is go to our settings of our virtual machine, and what we're going to have to do is go to display settings, enable 3D acceleration. 128 megabytes I believe is the kind of standard for that. And then I believe if you want to add a share folder, you can. So you can add a folder that can be shared in between your host computer, which is your actual operating system, and your virtual machine. If you want to add that, you definitely can. I would actually suggest it, so you can share folders in between, going back and forth. So go ahead and hit OK, and we can start the virtual machine back up. It should be fairly quick. So go ahead and hit enter. Go ahead and get started. We'll let it boot up for a second. It's going to ask us to log in again, so we can do subscribe, which is the password I chose, and get onto our Parrot system. Awesome. So if we go into devices and insert guest edition CD drive, should work, hopefully, if everything goes well. If you go into, yeah, perfect. So it did work. So you go into your file system, VirtualBox assist, VirtualBox, VBox, GAS, whatever. This is kind of what allows us to get those full screen and all that other stuff. So what we're going to do is go ahead, right click, hit open in terminal. Okay, so /VBox Linux editions, and then do sudo. So sudo /VBox whatever, and that should be good. It should ask you to type in your password, and type in your password, and it should start installing all that stuff. Sorry, that took me forever to understand. Alright, so it will say the system needs to be restarted. So let's go ahead and do that. We can close our terminal, we can close this, and we can restart the computer. So let's go ahead and hit devices, or I'm sorry, hit machine, and then APSI shutdown, and then we can restart the computer. And with hope and dreams, maybe, just maybe, it will go full screen. Alright, cool, so it's back up, so we can do subscribe. Subscribe. There you go. So if we do the right control and F, we should be able to have it full screen. The desktop will act a little weird, obviously, but now we have it full screen. There you go. So you can just hit that change background button. But yeah, now you have a full screen Linux operating system at your disposal. So now you can actually do a lot of stuff with it. So you can go ahead and hit that terminal button. And what we'll do is get started with the terminal. First thing you want to do is actually update everything on your computer. So sudo, which basically allows us to run everything as an administrative user. Then we'll do apt get, or sorry, sudo apt update, and then type in your password. Perfect. And then you can hit the up arrow to go up to your previous command. I actually should make this a little bit bigger for you guys. All right, perfect. So then you can do sudo apt upgrade. This command can take a little bit longer, but feel free to run this, and then it's going to ask you yes or no. I'll hit yes and let it do the upgrade to your computer. This can take some time, but you want it to do it so it'll upgrade everything and kind of bring you back up to date on all the stuff on your operating system, so that way you can continue to use it and such. Alright, so this is configuration for Wireshark. This is up to you. I'll just hit OK. Can I hit OK? Yeah. Allow non-super users to capture packets. Honestly, don't care on this virtual machine, so I'll just say yes. But that is up to you to decide. Super users are basically administrative users, so if you want users who aren't without admin permissions to be able to capture internet packets and stuff, you guys can. But again, that's up to you. If you have no idea, you can just hit yes. This is a virtual machine. It doesn't matter too much. Alright, so it's going to ask for some of the configuration files. I'll just do yes. Or is it the default no? Default's no? Alright, then I'll just do no. Then never mind. We'll just do no. No, that looks fine to me, honestly. Cool, and we can let that continue. Alright, so once that's done, it should be done upgrading. So the last thing we can do is sudo apt auto remove, and that should just auto remove all the stuff that we don't need, the random stuff that the installer probably installed on the computer. Maybe duplicates, might be random stuff, stuff we don't need, doesn't really matter. It just should free up some space on your virtual machine, and it should be relatively quick like it is currently for me. See, it's done. Awesome. So you can do clear to clear your terminal, and that way it's not all in your way and stuff, and you are set to go. So in the next module, we are actually going to be covering how we can actually start using the terminal, like how the terminal works, what bash is, all this other cool stuff. But yeah, feel free to start exploring a little bit, get familiar with it, and I'll see you guys in the next section where we will start using the bash module. So until then, or sorry, the bash terminal. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. So stay happy, stay positive, and as always, happy hacking. Hey hackers, Blue Cosmo from CCS here, and I wanted to introduce you guys to the Happy Hacker Site Plan. The Happy Hacker Site Plan is a plan where you guys can support us for only $1 a month. That's right, $1. With this comes exclusive benefits like courses, articles, videos, and access to our entire cybersecurity knowledge base. If this interests you and you guys want to get access to all this, check out the link in the description. It's only $1, so we definitely appreciate your guys' support. Anyway, enjoy the video, and happy hacking.